to it. Test, test, test. Come on, it's working on it. Do it. Test, test.
Yeah, that's funny. About a third of the time, I don't have to click. It just automatically joins
Yeah,
and
yeah,
goes.
it may have, it's already done, but anyway, we are live, so that's good. So let me get over to the keynote and then I'll share my screen. Oh, and Karen's iPad belongs, oh, Karen already renamed herself, but Lisa, it's Karen Papa, P-A-P-A. That's in the chat. Thank you for that. And I'll move the participant window over there. And
Blocked, sorry.
all righty, so you should be able to see my screen. And let's put it in. Okay, play.
And just before you get started, Ken, we've got an iPhone listed and a Rich's iPhone listed. So if folks could let us know who those belong to, we can get you into the door prize drawing.
And we can change your names if you need to. So feel free to mute yourself and let us know so you can be properly entered into the raffle. Okay. Ooh, Zoom has improved it where I can get the rogues gallery in most of them. Oh, perfect. All right, so did we get those taken care of, Lisa? Or are we still in need of anybody there?
We're still waiting on those. So
Okay, so Rich's iPhone
yes,
and just
iPhone.
iPhone.
Hmm.
Anyway, we'll get started here. We did start the recording. Oh, and mistake. I'm sorry. No Al Trivet today. So we'll be able to take info from the audience and come to think of it, there weren't a lot of Apple rumors recently. I mean, the tariff thing, but that's kind of going around. There's been exemptions on that. Um, but I don't, unless anybody knows of any that come up, I really think we don't really have much in the way of news or rumors. A lot of it, the reason it's quiet is because it'll be June when we have the Worldwide Developer Conference, WWDC, and they'll be introducing the new operating systems for the Mac, for the TV, for the iPhones, iPads, watch, and all of that. So we'll get the new OSs. We probably don't get new hardware introductions then. That usually waits till a little bit later. So, has anybody heard anything or any rumors out there or anything?
I've got a question. This is Rich.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
How do I change my name on the iPhone?
We can do it for you. That's probably the easiest.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Uh, it's Roy Chastain, but it's Rich. Help
Pearson.
me. That's right. Pearson.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect. You are renamed. I think on the phone you tap on it and then you go to the participant list or something, but this was easier. So that took care of Rich's iPhone. And is the other iPhone still listed?
I believe so.
Yeah, we have somebody named iPhone. And so if you want to get into it, let us know. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Annette. Long time. Okay, and I see Donna. And Donna, I saw you tried to log in last night about this time because it shows somebody tried to get in, not tried to get into the meeting, but was trying for that. So you've got the right night now. All right, so no real current news or anything. Any volunteers or member? Does anybody have any announcements? They're giving away thousands of dollars or anything like that? Okay. And next will be tech Q&A. So this is your time. We already answered a few questions earlier, but feel free. You can raise your hand digitally, or those of you that have your video on, we might be able to see you if you raise your hand physically if you have any questions. But there we go. Randy, you always have great questions, and I think sometimes you really know the answers to them, which
Well,
is fine.
I read it, but I don't really understand what I read. So I think the answer is yes, I can
Oh,
do it, but
so
I'm
it's
just
one
not
of
good.
those techie articles where the author tries to show off. I gotcha.
Yeah. So here it
Go
is.
ahead.
My
Go ahead.
mother-in-law is 91. She has the iMac with only the two ports, lightning ports in the back. So with other
But that
USB,
means she has the newer 24-inch iMac.
yes, the 24-inch iMac. It's only like about 4 years old, I believe. And there's only two ports in the back, Lightning. I'd like to get her a hub. The one that I have only doesn't have enough for the peripherals I'd like to add on for her. So here's my dilemma. I'm looking for Lightning, uh, that hooks into the computer and then has the dock or the ports or whatever. But
Sure.
it sounds like everything now is USB 3 or USB-C. And it sounds like
Yeah.
the
Okay.
article I read, they're the same thing. So I can get without worry, instead of looking for lightning specific plug to plug into that iMac, I can get a USB-C and it will work, is what it sounds like. Is that true?
Yes, but
Okay.
maybe what we'll do is we'll back up and it's for everyone's edification and the question is really valid. So, well, first of all, you threw out USB 3.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
no, and that's fine.
C.
So, let's talk about USB, a month ago and USB going forward and Lightning. So the old USB, the ports on our computer were rectangular, about 3/4 of an inch by a little over an eighth inch that went into the computer end. And the computer end, that was called USB A because that was that end. That had nothing to do with speed. USB A could be regular old USB, it could be USB 2 or USB 3. And those all, the 1, 2, and 3 was the same shape, but it was all essentially a speed of how fast the data could go over it. Generally speaking, if the little tab inside of the on the cord, which is the male part, and the female part that's in the computer on that USB-A, if it was a not a dark blue, but more of a royal kind of blue, actually almost like the blue you can see on the little lock in my picture here, not teal like the shark's vest or shirt I'm wearing, but more like the lock. That denoted that is USB 3 as far as speed, or sometimes what they call 3.1, which was even a little faster. So A, B, and C USB type was only speed, but it was the same configuration. And USB A is the shape of the plug that goes into the back of the computer. Now, in fact, I'm going to bring up a thing and let's say USB A versus USB C. Now, when we had any other USB, here's a good example. Come on, picture, get bigger. What's the deal? Okay, so, oh, that didn't give us a bigger picture. So there we are. So you can see USB-A type is this cylinder there. Then, but again, we had USB 1, 2, and 3. Now, the other end of that cable, if it went into a printer, that was called USB B, which was the part that went in the printer. It was more square and it kind of had two angles at the top. I always say it looks like a house. And so that was the other end. Or you could have had a lightning. You could have had an iPhone with a lightning connector that had this on one end and this on the other. And then, oh, and then there was this other one where we had USB micro, which was you would have this on one end, the USB A, and then you had this on the other end. Well, a lot of things a few years ago went to USB C. And while it looks kind of square, it's really oval on both ends. And the beauty of it is this one, notoriously, it would take you 3 tries to plug it in because you try to plug it in and it would not be the right direction. You'd have it upside down. So then you try plug it in again and it doesn't work. And then finally you go back to the original way and it fits in there. It's just something about it. But you would never get it right on the first try. If so, go buy a lottery ticket. But anyway, you had an up and a down to it. The Apple Lightning, and so did you with this little USB micro connector, and they had another one in between that looked a little bit bigger, and it was uh, a mini, and it's a little bit. There's an up and a down, just like the B. But the Lightning, like the one that the iPhone and iPads had for the longest time, the Lightning connector had 8 pins, and it could go in up or down. It didn't matter. Once we transition to USB-C, USB-C doesn't matter which way you put it in. And USB-C more than likely is USB 3 or faster, and it's a quicker connection and carries more power. In fact, ports on a MacBook Pro will provide enough power to charge the battery. Lightning, we've had Lightning around for a while. The original Lightning was a little different thing, and then we had Lightning 2, or it was Lightning, but it was called DisplayPort 2, and it was a weird shape. But now Thunderbolt, I didn't mean Lightning. Lightning's the iPhone. Thunderbolt 2 is not around much anymore, but Thunderbolt 3, or now all the way up to Thunderbolt 5, is exactly the same shape as USB-C. And this is a good example of it right here. In fact, that's a MacBook Air probably, or it could be a MacBook Pro. And this is the part that goes into that. That's USB-C, or when it has a little lightning bolt on it, it's Thunderbolt. So they're exactly the same fit, but Thunderbolt carries more power and more bandwidth, which means data, than regular USB-C. So when Randy's talking about the new iMac that has the new iMac, the 24-inch iMac, one model has 4 ports on the back and the other one has 2. So 2 of the ports on both of the new iMacs, the newer iMacs, the 24-inch, are Lightning. And the Lightning will work if you have something, I'm sorry, Thunderbolt, excuse me. They're Thunderbolt 3 or 4 if it's the newest one. And the Thunderbolt will pass data quicker, but it will also be dumbed down to be regular USB-C. So the majority of stuff you'd plug into it, there's very few things that need Thunderbolt plugged into the back. One that works would be a display, but believe it or not, extra displays work just fine with USB-C because it's got enough bandwidth. Sometimes if you have a high-end camera rig where you're using big files, your card reader might be Thunderbolt. Sometimes an external drive could be Thunderbolt. And in fact, if you have a Thunderbolt external drive, it's amazing that the speed is almost as fast as internal drives used to be. So uh, every Thunderbolt can also be USB-C, but not every USB-C has the bandwidth capability or the power of a Thunderbolt. And when I say power, I mean like to charge a MacBook Pro or something like that. So, Randy, what you really need is you don't need a Thunderbolt hub. And I always say plug your fastest things if you have the iMac with four ports in the back. If you want something that has the best, if something uses a lot of power and you want the most speed, plug it into the Thunderbolt ports, but the USB ports will be fine. Randy, in your mom's case, you just get a hub or what we call a dongle sometimes, and you want to convert one of those to it. In fact, let me pull up a dongle. We'll go to Amazon.
Here's one that I've got.
Yeah, I need a picture we can display a little easier. So hang on one sec. Thank you, it's Georgiana. So if we look at this from Anchor, so you can see that this plugs in. I can't do both. It plugs into USB-C, and it has USB-C out, and then it's got two of the old USB-A ports on it. As you can see, if I move the cursor over the right, you'll see it, but see the ones that are kind of blue in the lower right there. So that's a dongle, and what it does, it turns one port into two USB-C ports and two USB-A, and even an HDMI is thrown in for good measure there. So, and again, we haven't mentioned anything about Thunderbolt in that regard. If you are going to run a display off of it, plug it into the Thunderbolt port because it will be faster. So, Randy, just USB-C is fine, and you would pay a lot extra. Well, first of all, Thunderbolt cables are very expensive because they're designed to carry a ton of data. They're very high end, and they have chips in them. But USB-C, there's a rare case that USB-C won't be fast enough for what you need. Does that answer it for you, Randy? I know that's long and drawn out, but I wanted to get everybody an idea of what goes on with it too. For instance, if you have a time machine backup, I always make sure you get one of these dongles so we can plug it into the USB-C in the back or the Thunderbolt, and then it goes and it plugs in your old hard drive plugs into these old style USB-A ports.
Yeah.
I
All right.
just
Thank you.
post a link to a Satishi brand.
Oh yeah,
And-
Sachi or whatever it is. I've had those before.
yeah, and this one clips to the bottom edge of the iMac.
Yeah,
And
let
it's
me go
nice
ahead.
because
Oh, is that the one that brings it out front? I have one of
yeah,
those from my old one. So hang on one sec. I will pull the chat up.
yeah, I already put a
And
link to it in
Yeah,
the
and that
chat.
yeah,
that's what I
I'm gonna
have
bring it
is
up
the Satishi.
so
I
people
have
can
that.
see it.
Yeah. What I like about it is it also has the ports for an SD and a micro SD disk.
Yeah, I have this exact one I used on my old iMac, and this is a great thing. And you can see here how it looks. It goes right on the front of the iMac. And that way you have a mini SD and an SD. You've got three regular USB A's, and you even have one USB-C there. And it's only using one port in the back.
Right.
So I had that on my old 27-inch iMac, Bob. Good find, and I think that's fantastic. Because the other thing is, they're right up front for you, and it's a clean setup, and you still have one or three extra on the back still. Good
Yeah.
find, Bob. And the link is in the chat. You guys can click on that. So good job. Okay, moving on to Elaine. Go right ahead with your question.
Hey, first of all, that was a great explanation of the USBs. That made it really clear. My question, it has to do with trying to make my iPhone 15 a hotspot, and I haven't been able to do that. For some reason, it just doesn't connect. And I don't expect you to walk me through all the steps now, but are there any tricks to it that you know off the top of your head?
Well, who's your carrier?
My carrier is Consumer Cellular, which I think uses AT&T lines.
Yeah, but you need to make sure that they allow hotspotting.
Oh, okay. All right, that's a good trick.
And yeah, so and Consumer Cellular has really good customer service, or you could Google it and stuff too. Actually, let's just do it here. Does Consumer
And it may vary
Cellular?
from location to location, right?
Not usually, no,
Okay.
no. They'll either offer it or not.
Okay.
Hotspot. Somebody's asked it before. Uh, that do not officially include the ability to. It's also called tethering, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And tethering is, think of it like it would be a cable attached from what you're trying to hotspot to it, but it's a virtual tether. Okay.
Right.
Tethering as plans is permitted, but you'll check with them, and then otherwise, have you tried to do it on the phone, and what seems to be the stumbling block?
It's been a while since I tried it, so I don't remember, but they just don't talk to each other. It's the laptop and my phone don't talk to each other through that.
So you go into the phone, and
And
in fact,
settings.
let me go ahead, because this will be instructive for everyone, and we have time tonight. So let me fire my phone up. Hang on one sec. I'll stop share, and then I'll share my phone. I'll try doing it this way with reflector. Okay. Okay, hang on one sec here. I do it a little differently when I'm going to be presenting from the phone, so I wasn't ready. So just give me one sec. There's. Great. Are you guys seeing my phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So if I go to settings and come on down to personal hotspot,
Mm-hmm.
and I tap personal hotspot, you first you would say allow others to join, but if both your devices are on your same Apple ID, it will work real well. Now, at this point, you can enter a password, and I recommend making it an easy password, even like 1 through 8 or something, because this is only you connecting to you, and it would be, you're not going to have it on long enough that somebody will be able to check what it is. So anyway, you enable it on your phone. So now mine is going to be enabled, and I'm going to get out of this. And now on my computer, you'll notice up here in the upper right, both my iPad, and I can't click on these because we'll lose our Zoom connection. But what happens is my phone, now your phone should not be on Wi-Fi when you do this. So what happens is your phone is using the cellular network and it's working just fine, but it's saying, oh, let's connect my iPad or my computer to the cellular network my phone is using. And in fact, it connects each other by Wi Fi. So your computer would not be on regular Wi Fi, it would be hotspotting using Wi Fi. Because obviously, if your computer's on Wi Fi, you're not going to need to hotspot from your phone because you already have a connection. And your phone will automatically turn the Wi-Fi off on the phone because obviously it won't repeat it. And again, more than likely, you're only going to hotspot in areas where you wouldn't have Wi-Fi. So what it would do is you would click this and you see these weird little interlocking links. And if I were to click on that now instead of the Wi-Fi logo up here, it would show Wi-Fi links and it would, or I'm sorry, hotspot links, those interlinking chain up in here. And what's happening is your phone is receiving a cellular signal and it still works. It can still take and receive calls, and you can surf the internet on it. And then you're sharing that internet connection with your computer or your iPad, and it will work. And obviously, it splits the bandwidth up a little bit. And many carriers do some different things. They'll deprioritize hotspotting. They may make it a certain limit, and they may limit the speed because they just hooking a computer, tethering and hotspotting it to your phone will use a tremendous amount more bandwidth than your phone would on its own. So that's why they limit it and stuff. And you can just check with your carrier. And believe me, it's not like you're going to open the floodgates. There are ways around it sometimes if you need to, but your carrier will know. And so check into it, and it's very, very beneficial. Also, if you travel internationally, depending on your carrier, they may or may not allow it. Like, for instance, T-Mobile allows it, but uh, uh, they allow it, and then after you've used so much, they will slow it down.
Mm.
And if you get a SIM card from other countries, it may or may not allow hotspotting or tethering. And if so, there may be some limitations too. So again, the two names are hotspot or tethering. So give it a whirl when you get a chance and see what happens there. But that's a really good question because that's how you do. Especially like for instance, I have cellular on my iPad because I use it remotely so much. But this way you can connect an iPad when you're out and about. So
Thank you so
good.
much.
You're welcome. All right, Donna, go right ahead.
Yes, I had questions about getting onto Zoom because I'm setting up two different computers, and Zoom came through, and it came. I couldn't get on last night at all, and so I went through settings, and wherever Zoom was, I gave it permission. Yes, 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 and so then I gave it permission to everything in settings, and tonight it came on and said if you are, um, it seemed to say that everybody, anyone who wanted to, who was receiving my picture could also uh, send it out or something like that. So I'm wondering if I turn too many things on. I don't use Zoom for,
Oh, so did that come on once you got into the meeting?
yes.
Well, that's just the recording live thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was probably a question you had when you were working on those preferences. It says, uh, do you want to be able to record your screen? And that comes up, but we never record them when you're doing a screen share and stuff. So, but the live recording comes up uh, on there to let you know you and everyone else is being recorded.
Okay. But now giving Zoom permission, all these permissions, is there anything I don't want to necessarily give them permission to do?
No, I'll tell you, Zoom seems to be a real good player and they keep updating things. And if it was something really severe, it does it. But it's the first time you open Zoom on a computer, it's Apple saying, hey, you want to make sure, like, first of all, is can it use your microphone? And you agreed to that, obviously, because we're talking on one of those computers right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's Apple does that with anything that wants to on your iPhone or your Mac. If it wants to use your microphone, it asks you first. But then once you've allowed it, it doesn't usually ask you again. Sometimes on Zoom, it might ask you. The same thing with the camera. Again, it's you controlling your own privacy and security on that. And then after that, the other things are you had to go into settings and allow it. And it used to be more automatic than that, but it's Apple just really trying to be protection. So I have not heard of vulnerabilities on Zoom that you need to worry about.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Barbara Moore, go for it.
Can you explain how Wi-Fi calling works and when you would want to use it?
Yeah, good question. So, Wi-Fi calling is another spot on your phone. And let me see if I'm still. I can have us there in a second. Okay. So, in settings, you go down to cellular, and then, oh, did they move it? Hang on. Wi-Fi assist is not it. Hmm. Well, hang on here. Mine's on and I haven't done it in a long time. So let's do Wi-Fi calling. It's under phone now. So go into setting, settings, then phone.
Okay.
I'll go back out so we can get to it. So if I go into, I did a search for Wi-Fi calling, but we're in the main settings and come down to apps, and then we'll scroll down to P for phone. It used to be on the main menu. And now when I'm in phone, right here in the center, it says Wi-Fi calling.
Okay.
So should I use it all the time or not? So here's the deal. If you're in a location where the cell signal is weak, but you have good internet, Wi-Fi, what it will do is it's like when they used to have these little hotspots you could put in your house to make your phone calls go over the internet when you had bad cell reception. So Wi-Fi calling routes your phone calls over the internet rather than over the cell towers. So if you have AT&T DSL, it may not work so well. And if you don't have good internet on your home, this is on your home system, you
Right.
don't want this on.
Mhm.
But it will help if you have a weak tower, like you can see at my house. I have two bars.
Yeah.
I have Wi-Fi calling on, and when I pull down from the top, you can see it says T-Mobile Wi-Fi, which means I'm using T-Mobile, but I'm using my cellular or my home internet. The only problem that comes up is if your home internet is not real robust, if you are talking to someone and you hear them and they're breaking up a little bit, or they say you're breaking up a little bit, you want to turn Wi Fi calling off because it's a thing called packet loss. And by going over the internet, it may be weak. So, in those cases, what I do is I pull down from the upper right corner and in Control Center, I would then tap and turn my Wi Fi off. And it says till tomorrow, but during the length of that call. But only if it's that you're getting splotchy call. For the most part, it works really, really well. I just want to have the caveat for you to know. Now, what happens if I'm traveling? If you're in a hotel and the hotel has Wi Fi, you can certainly use Wi Fi calling. And depending on who your carrier is, you may get a discount or even free calls internationally if you use Wi Fi calling. But I encourage you to check with what your carrier says on that. So, what Wi Fi calling does, first of all, it if you've got Wi Fi at home and you're using your phone, all your internet surfing and everything will be on Wi Fi. So, you don't have to worry about that. We're talking about actual phone calls made or received or made to someone. It's routing it over the Wi-Fi internet rather than going over the cell towers. And like in my case, it may put it over the cell tower. It senses which is the best connection. So
Oh,
it may decide to send it over Wi-Fi or it may decide to send it over cell towers.
okay. And how would you know
Now,
what you're
this
doing?
brings up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So how would you know which one is doing if it can switch it back and forth without
You
you?
don't care.
Okay,
You don't care because it's gonna pick the best. But remember, if you start getting where the voice sounds really choppy and things like that, it it might be better to turn it off for the rest of that call by either going into here or, like I said, just using the control center and turning Wi-Fi off temporarily and then turn it back on later because it's only I just a warning because you'll be you'll hear every third word kind of stuff.
okay,
It's the old way. On a digital thing, we won't hear static, but be the equivalent of hearing static on the radio.
yeah.
That's a great question. So let's go ahead and disconnect it. Great. Okay, good questions. Great questions, in fact. All right. Anybody else have any before we kind of move on here? Any other tech Q&A? Doesn't have to be about what we're doing. All right. So
Yeah,
let me
I have,
go
Candy,
ahead.
go ahead. Someone was ahead of me.
Yeah, go ahead, Berta.
oh, um, I have the MacBook Pro 16. And sometimes with my relatives, if they call on the phone, in the upper right, there's a square and I can receive their phone
You
and
mean on your computer?
right and talk with them. But that doesn't happen with everyone. But I know my family's on Apple products. So is there a way that I can receive other phone calls on the MacBook Pro? Is it in my settings?
I well, go to your phone
All right.
and actually let's do this because this is important for everybody. Because there's not just the phone calls, there's also uh, text messages. So I'm going to go back to showing my phone again. So first, we're going to go to settings. And now she's talking about her laptop, and I'll show you why I'm going to the phone. So if I go to the main screen in settings, I scroll down to, and everybody should follow me along. Go down here all the way down to apps. Now, if you're on an older operating system, your apps will be listed, but we're going to go to FaceTime. And wow, I don't know why it's not filling in, but you'll go to the F's and tap FaceTime.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that we scroll down below here and it says you can be reached by FaceTime, and you want to have everything checked on the top section. And your phone number should be there. If your phone number is not there, please speak up. Anybody. Again, we're only talking about the top section in FaceTime. So again, it was settings, apps, and FaceTime. So, Berta, what is yours got your phone number checked?
Yes, it does.
And do you have other things below on that same section that
Only
are checked or not checked?
only one email address. How would I add a second email address?
You just tap it and it will check it.
Okay. Do I need to add another email
Or is
address?
it not listed there?
It's not
Is
listed.
it not listed there?
Right.
Okay. Is the one that's listed the same as your Apple ID?
Yes.
Mine
Then
is
you're
not.
fine.
Okay.
Who spoke up again? What?
Mine is not listed. This is Donna. My phone number.
Yeah, Donna. So is your phone number selected?
No, it's not listed. Oh,
Okay. Is it asking you to sign in to your Apple ID?
no, it really doesn't look like yours. I'm on settings and then I go down to apps at the bottom and I just get default
Right.
apps.
Tap it.
I did, and then it just
Well,
default apps.
no. When you hit apps, okay. So are you running the most recent iOS?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. So when you tap on apps,
Yes.
okay, I watch my screen, I go down to apps, and then on the right-hand side, I tap F to take me, oops, I take it to F,
Okay, I can go to F.
and then I tap FaceTime, okay? And it should look like this. Does it look like this, Donna?
Wait just a minute. Wait, let me get there. F. FaceTime. Oh, I know, maybe. No, it says allow FaceTime to access blank, 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 all these things. On
Well,
my,
yeah, that's the problem. You don't have it on, so later you can do that. And
okay,
then while you get there, in the upper section, you can be reached by FaceTime. You have all of those on. Now, oh, and that's interesting. So under caller ID, that's interesting. Let me think. Do I want that? So I like to have it be your phone number.
Yes.
But this is, in other words, what shows up. So I would do that. On the bottom one, you can only select one of them. So either your phone number or your Apple ID email address. But I've switched mine back. So, and Donna, you'll need to sign into your Apple account, your Apple ID account to be able to have this fill in.
okay.
But Bert, did yours under caller ID, what was yours on?
I have my cell phone number on it.
Okay. And then the top is up there. That's interesting. I don't know. I'd have to research on the FaceTime. You should. I'm not positive you can do it'll go to your computer. Oh, then let's see, one other thing. Let me look here.
Why did it have anything to do with who her carrier is?
No, because FaceTime goes over the internet. Good
Okay.
thought though, Bob. So now we're going to do one other step that might help. So when I go back up I tap Wi-Fi in the upper left. Now I have my list of apps again, right? So when I go to those, I want to go down to M for messages.
I missed you. Where'd you find Wi-Fi?
Upper left corner where it's blue, it should say.
Oh, mine says cellular. Just need to change it to settings.
Well, you were in cellular then. You weren't.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, go all the way back. We'll go all the way back. Go
Okay.
all the way back to home settings, everybody. You
Okay.
should have it just like this.
Okay. Click on Wi-Fi.
And by the way, one way a shortcut is where it says search, I could type in messages and it will take me right to it. But I'm going to show you here. We go down to apps and I can scroll down, but I have way too many. So I hit the M on the right side and I'm going to messages. And when in messages, we're going to go look at something. First of all, right in the center where it says message, that should iMessage, it should be green. Okay. Now we want to go to send and receive, and that will look suspiciously like what we just saw a second ago. In the upper section, you can have them all selected. It doesn't matter, but I recommend it. If your phone number is not listed there, you're not signed into your Apple ID. In the second one, only select, and it will only let you select one, select your phone number. Okay, this way when people get texts from you, it'll look correct.
I'm
Okay, so
once we're at messages,
what?
where should we go after messages?
Okay, are you on my screen right here like this?
I don't see that yet.
Does it say messages at the very top in
At the
white?
very top, you have a little information bar that blocks it. Okay. Location, focus, Surrey. Okay. So
Right. So scroll on down.
Okay.
Make sure iMessage is on.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's iMessage? Mine just, yes. Okay, it's on.
Okay. Then after that, tap send and receive, and you should get this window.
Right.
And all of the ones on top should be checked. And is there a phone number in the top section?
Yes.
Okay. Then go on down to the lower section and make sure just your phone number is selected.
Correct.
Okay. So now tap the blue message things with the arrow in the upper left to get you back one screen. And it should say Wi-Fi on the left, but messages on the top.
Right.
Okay. Scroll down to here where it says text message forwarding.
That's that.
Everybody needs to be there.
Okay. Click on that.
Text message forwarding. Tap it. And everything there should be on.
Yeah.
If you want to get your text messages on all of your devices. So what this means is when you send a text message to a blue person, it's an Apple person, it goes to your iPhone, your iPad, and everything else. If it's a green person, you have to, from your phone, tell it it's going to also forward it. Now, it's not like forwarding the call. It will go to your phone, but it will also send it to your iPad and to your MacBook or iMac. And you have to have those on. So what this is doing is saying, I'm making my phone a conduit to send green or cellular messages to it. Okay, so that's where it should be. And then down on, I mean, everything else, I would have RCS and MMS messaging on, and that's about it.
Oh, I don't even see that.
Well, it's down farther.
Um, my version doesn't go down forward. I'm at text message forwarding. Oh, I should click back.
Yep. And then you finish that screen
RCS messaging?
and go back. That's the screen I'm on right now, and I hit the back button in the upper left.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get this, and I want to make sure send as text message is on. And then RCS, you tap it and make sure they're on. And then tap messages back and make sure MMS is on also, and that's it.
Where's MMS? Send us text.
Look at my screen.
Right. I'm on RCS messaging.
And they should both be on. And now tap the blue messages in the upper corner, left upper corner to go back. And the next one after that is MMS.
Right, I've got that.
Okay, then you're good. So now I want to do one other thing. And I want to see if, hang on, I may not be able to do FaceTime because we're using Zoom. So let me see. Yeah, so hang on. I want to check a setting here in FaceTime. Yeah, you want to make sure on the computer. Ah, here it is. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
If you'll notice, I went into FaceTime and went to FaceTime settings in the upper left.
Oh.
Do you see that?
Right, I'm not doing it because we're on Zoom, but I'm watching what you have. Yeah.
Well, but you might be able to do that setting. But anyway, you go up to FaceTime, come down to settings, and here's what you need to do here is use your phone cellular accounts to make and receive calls on your phone if your phone is nearby, and calls from phone needs to be on.
Okay.
So it's in the computer. We've got everything on the phone set correctly, but we need to set this on the computer. And it may or may not, you may have to be on Wi-Fi calling
Okay. In
that
the
we
past,
talked about earlier.
cellular, so what I did is change it to Wi-Fi. Okay, I'll try that later then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that works. That should allow you to do phone calls and you may have to go into FaceTime on the iPad too, but I think it's doing it on the computer allows it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope that helps someone else. I didn't want to take all your time there.
No. Great question, and that's why I wanted to go through that because, again, these are things that aren't just you; it's everybody else. And to be honest, I had to go through and find some of it myself. So,
We're always learning.
good job, Randy. You're next, and then Roy.
Okay. You have already done in a previous session stolen device protection. You've covered that, but I read a story with a recommendation above and beyond what you had covered previously, stolen device protection. They took it another step and recommended backing up the iPhone to the computer so that should the phone actually get stolen, and you don't get to it quick enough to turn it off or notify it's a lost phone, you at least have a backup of your phone on your computer. Is that a good thing to do, or don't worry about it?
Well, your level of protection and worry is all your own deal. And to be honest, your phone gets backed up to the cloud.
Okay.
If your phone gets lost or stolen, it's highly unlikely they can get into it. And so I don't backing it up to the computer really is a long time ago, and it can take a lot. I don't want to
Okay.
not recommend it, but I don't do it. And I know because I make sure my phone's backed up to the cloud, so I know I can get it from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was just the concern or precaution that maybe someone would get your phone, change the password so you wouldn't be able to get from the cloud.
How are they going to get in your phone?
That's true. I just was passing that along, and I think you answered it.
No, 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 no. I'm not.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
not
disagreeing.
not sure. No, no, I don't know. Maybe uh, took my face as a who knows how they'd get in.
Yeah. So you can do a setting that if someone tries to get into your phone after 10 times, it'll wipe your phone out. But this really stresses the fact that, and I want everybody to make sure their phone's getting backed up to the cloud. And the way you do that is, I guess I'll do this one last time. So you go into settings. Let's go back to the main settings screen and you tap on your name and then come down to iCloud. And they've changed this screen a bit, but you'll notice down here in this next section, I'll put it near the top, iCloud backup. And when I tap that, it will tell me when it was last backed up. When does your phone back up? Three things have to happen. Your phone needs to be plugged into power. It needs to be on Wi-Fi, and the screen needs to be dark. And I don't mean shut off, I mean just asleep. And what it will do is it will back up to the cloud. And again, in that main screen, you can see here it says 20 hours ago is when it backed up. It backs up mine when I go to sleep at night and it's plugged into power. So three things. It has to be plugged into power because it doesn't want to drain your battery too much. You can set it to use cellular, but I don't recommend it. You're on Wi-Fi often enough that it waits till it's on Wi-Fi to back up so it doesn't use all of your uh, uh, cellular data. And then when the screen goes dark, just means you're not using it. So that way it's going to take some poop out of the internet because it's going to take a little while to get that data all backed up. And therefore, and again, backups like Time Machine do old versions. This just backs up the most recent version of everything you have on your phone. And whether you have iCloud Photo Library on or not, it will it will always back up your photos whether you're using that or not. And then it backs up everything else. And in fact, you could get if your phone got broken or stolen or lost, you could just go in, you log into your Apple ID, and boom, you're up and running. So good question, Randy. But yeah, I think that's a bit overkill. The only time I might do it is when I'm upgrading my phone because it might lose it, but you still have your other phone with you. So it's actually not that big a deal.
Good.
Hope that answered it, and anybody else can comment. Roy, go for it.
Yeah, well, you just created a second question real quick.
I have a tendency to do
My
that.
backup was at 12:25 this morning, but I had over cellular clicked. So I'll try it tonight with just the Wi-Fi.
Well,
Trouble is,
and
my house has dead zones
you have
because of
unlimited
the.
cellular, right?
I'm sorry.
You have unlimited cellular, right?
Yeah,
So the reason I don't do it on mine is it does it often enough, but secondly, I sure as heck don't want to do it when I'm traveling.
I see. Okay.
So, and
Um,
obviously, and your phone when you're at home is generally on Wi-Fi, so it's gonna even if cellular's activated on it, it will predominantly it will use Wi-Fi if it can.
it'll default to Wi-Fi if
Yeah.
possible. Okay.
Absolutely.
What I raised my hand for was when we were talking about FaceTime. Now that our grandson is 6 months old, he's really active and doing things, and we take, what I think they call it FaceTime photos. Can I do a video on FaceTime?
I'm not sure. You could, if worse comes to worse, you could use a screen capture thing. Um, there's the inside. I mean, I would Google screen capture. There's a built-in program that lets you capture video. It might, and it's weird to have it capture audio, but I don't use FaceTime enough. I would just do a Google and see if it'll allow you
And
to.
that would be if we were doing it on the computer, but on the iPhone.
Well, iPhones now can record what's on the screen.
How does that occur?
It's up in the control center, which if you go up to the upper right and swipe down and do it, I don't think it records the audio though. So,
Well,
but
that's okay.
I would just Google how to do that.
I don't, okay. I
And hey, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to the regular part of the presentation.
okay.
And if I have time at the end, remind me, please, everyone. I'll show you how to go in and do that. Because there's not a ton to present tonight because there's going to be an expanded version of this. Actually, what is it? This coming Saturday. Isn't that right? No. Oh, it's the following Saturday, isn't it? Hang on. I was looking at my calendar.
Yeah, don't scare me.
Well, yeah, hang on here. Oh, well, that's good news for me. Okay, because I've got to go work on the race car. Oh, cool. Oh, no, this is Friday. That's what it is. And I'm open Saturday. Okay, never mind. All right. So moving on along, we're going to talk about passwords. And I always put the curse word in, or passwords. And we're going to talk about scams and stuff like that. So this isn't a very long presentation, and feel free to ask questions as we go along. And then we'll try to get uh, Roy's question done at the end and any other questions that have come up. So, okay, you can progress. There we go. I've said this a million times. If you have Yahoo, AT&T, SBCglobal.net, or whoever it is you buy your internet from, whether it be Wave or Starstream or whatever, you should not use those email addresses. Because if you leave that provider, they're at some point going to shut it down. But the reason you don't want Yahoo, AT&T, and SBCglobal.net is because they absolutely suck. And they are terrible. I mean, they will. So Yahoo, AT&T, and SBC Global, and the old PacBell.net used Yahoo or uses Yahoo for their email service. Well, a couple years ago, Verizon bought Yahoo, which, first of all, was one of the stupidest decisions. Oh, and by the way, they also own AOL now. So Verizon bought AOL, Yahoo, and then Verizon and AT&T and SBC Global uses Yahoo. So essentially, Verizon was controlling the email for all those companies. Well, Verizon didn't take too long to find out that it absolutely sucks trying to support email, especially if people are getting a quote for free. So they sold everything to a private equity group. And I would, I don't know who the private equity group is, but they're stupid because it just doesn't make sense. So my tale of woe, and it's anecdotal, was one of my, actually, uh, it's a husband and wife that used to own a private ski school at Squaw Valley that I taught skiing for years ago. And they're good friends, they're customers of mine, and they have an SBC Global email address. And they we kind of got it working, and then out here at Sun City, we no longer will support anyone that does this because it's just such a cluster mess that it's untenable. Well, over 2 days, I spent over 5 hours on support with AT&T to try to get their email working, and luckily we didn't break any of their old email, but all we were doing is try to get it working on the new computer they got, and it didn't. And we went round and round, and it's broken. It's terrible. And if you have to look at this from the logistics aspect, they somebody in customer service spent 5 hours to try solve our solution. It didn't work, but beyond that, an employee cost them about $100 an hour. And so that employee for this private equity group that's trying to solve this, and they're making a pittance of money. And if it's Yahoo, they're not making any money because nobody pays for Yahoo. It's ad supported, but I mean, at some point. So I really think those things are all going to go away at some point. So if you have any critical emails that are on those accounts, either use an Apple iCloud account or get a Gmail account. And the only reason I say Gmail, yes, it's free email, but Google's got plenty of money in the bank. They have really good email. They have really good tech support, and they make their money off ads on the email. So they're going to be around. I would not, and then the other thing is, let's say you're on Wave Broadband or Comcast or Xfinity. You don't want to be tied to them, because what if Bob and Joe's, I mean, we got different things, like you have T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T with home internet now. So if you cut the cable and find better internet from what they have, oh, but I've still got my Comcast email. Well, get rid of that. Become a free agent. Be agnostic to whoever it is that provides your email. Okay. And your other email account will sit there for a while, but let it be the magnet for all the spam that comes in. And then use your other email. Just let your friends and family know. And you want to do this, and then you need to go to your bank. You need to update your Apple ID everywhere you communicate where you have an account with an email. Because if all of a sudden Yahoo goes out of business, or AT&T decides to change things, or you leave AT&T, you don't want to have to do all that within 30 days, because it's a big task. So this way, if you'd start it now, in the year and a half it'll take you to migrate everything over, just doing it willy-nilly when you sign up to an account, you'll be fine. But it could be really bad. I can't stress it enough. So, passwords, smash words, and you talk about curse words, I have one client who finally got so frustrated, and she has a curse word as her password, and it's the one password that she will never forget. So I'm going to talk about passwords, and I'm going to show you a process, and many of you seen this already, but I reiterate it. It's really good, and it should be good. So it should be helpful. Now, luckily, if you get frustrated and your passwords aren't working, hardly any of us have old CRT terminals anymore. So you're probably not going to break your foot when you kick your monitor, because LED monitors and LCD monitors are a little lighter. So you're only going to break a couple toes. Or you're going to get frustrated. And again, a CRT probably puts out more sparks when you shoot it than an LCD. So here's my protocol. There's derivations of it, and I'll try to give you some reasons why I do it, but don't hesitate to ask questions. And I encourage everyone to let Apple save your passwords. It used to be called Keychain. Now it's an app called Passwords. We're going to talk about it briefly, but it is very good. I have never used, nor do I encourage, things like 1Password or some of the others. Many of you use it, and if you're already using it, that's fine. But I don't like to have a single point of failure like that. And I really, Apple has been very, very good. In fact, what's amazing is when Apple started doing Keychain on the cloud, it made it very nice because when we used to upgrade Macs, you would instead of upgrading the computer when you've got a new operating system, excuse me, on your same computer, if you upgraded the operating system, it was always best to do a clean install. But the problem was you'd have to bring all over your passwords manually and everything. So now it doesn't need to be. And the beauty is it syncs between all your devices. And yes, it's very safe and very secure. Your passwords are stored on your Mac, your iPad, and your iPhone in what's called a secure enclave. They could completely disassemble your device and they would not be able to extract the information out of it. So, should you use the same password everywhere? Well, many people do, and you shouldn't, because if you're just signing up for some dumb magazine where they require you to do it and you use a certain password, and if you go and you um, you use your banking password, you don't want the same password in both places, because if that little magazine gets hacked or sold or whatever, they might be able to get your same password because you use the same email. But how else are we going to remember the password? So if my password is password one, I think you should actually use it everywhere, because the problem is you've got to remember it. And if you write it down, that's not very secure. So I'm going to tell you to use the same password everywhere, but I'm going to show you how we can make it work and be secure. I used to say a 2-letter prefix. I've changed it to 3 because it makes it a little bit better. So what you do is you use 1 capital letter, 2 lowercase letters, and then whatever your password is. If it's Fluffy1 or MacNexus1 or whatever, I encourage you to have that always be lowercase. Always put the number at the end, and I'll explain why in a second. But what are my 3 letters in front going to be? Well, if we're at a website, we always know the website we're at or the company. So we use, and instead of using WF, we use the first 3 letters of whatever website we're at, and then our password. So you always know where you are. For instance, if it's your Apple ID, well, we know iCloud and all that's Apple. So it would be capital A, PP, password 1. Now, I'm going to give some derivations on this in a second, but I want you to just see how this works. So the problem would be if it's a 2-letter place like K2 Skis years ago. Yeah, you might only use 2 letters in the beginning. Oh, and I have a mistake here. I am sorry. I should fix this. This should be capital letter, then lowercase, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I did. It's Gmail. Here's how you want to do it. Now, why do I have it with this protocol? So think about when you're typing on the iPhone. The first letter you type in is usually a capital letter. And then the keyboard automatically goes down to lowercase, right? So capital W, lowercase e, L, P, A, S, S, W, O, R, D. And then I have to switch the keyboard to the number keyboard, right? So that's why it's at the end. If you have a number in the middle, it makes you flip back and forth between the 2 keyboards. So this way you're really doing it easy. Obviously on a computer, it doesn't much matter, but on iPhones and iPads, that's important. And when I talk about Pizza Hut here, so you sign up for Pizza Hut, PIZ, whatever, because when you sign up for Pizza Hut, you use your email address as your username. And let's say the guy's about to get fired and the tip wasn't really good and he wants to have retribution on you. So they go in and he tries to find out what your password was for Pizza Hut. Well, forget that it says pizza because he doesn't know that part. But if your password was just password one, he would take password one and he sees your email address. And if your email address had the same password that you used for Pizza Hut, he would go in and say, "Oh my gosh." And then once he gets into your email, it's the keys to the kingdom. So, anyway, this, you'll never have to write these down. You make up whatever it is here. It could be a street name. It could be the initials of your kids. It could be anything. But you need that password should be at least 6 characters long. And I'm putting 3 in front now. Let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, because some places Apple requires this, but some places are increasing it. Apple requires 8 characters total or more. Now, if you go too long, you're likely to mistype it. So there's a fine line in there. But Apple requires at least 1 capital letter and 1 lowercase letter and 1 number. They yet do not require a special character, which we'll talk about in a second. So here's a problem. We get to Amazon. Oh no, it used to be when I used 2. But it doesn't matter if these repeat. But again, you always know where you are. So you always have the first 3 letters. You have your main password. But when you're at sites that you want secure, not newspaper sites or anything like that, but things that mean a lot to you, like your email and any financial site, you want to create and have a special character. Now, I didn't do it. Never mind. Let me go through this. So your special character should be one of 3 special characters. And I apologize. I thought it had it on this slide. But your special characters should never be a period, because if you do write it down, then you don't know if it's really a period or not. And do not use the number sign or hashtag, because on your iPhone, after you press the number, to get to the hashtag or pound sign or number sign, the 4th cross thing, you have to go to a whole special keyboard on that. So the recommendations are an exclamation mark, a $sign, or a question mark, because they're all on the same number keypad. Now, I recommend you keep it consistent. And if you want further security, you could use 2 or even 3 special characters, but be consistent, because you don't want to guess on that. If you use 3, use them in the same order all the time. You'll know it, and they're never going to guess that it's the same on all of them. So at this point, you'll be able to have a very secure password. Every special character you add to the end will double. Actually, I think it's a 10-fold increase on its ability to not get compromised. Some people use, Pete used to always say, use the first letters of every word in a song you like. But that's the same thing as whatever you decide to put in the center. Just make it consistent and make it be something you'll remember. I give the example Fluffy 1, or we could use MacNexus 1. Whatever it is, that center one stays consistent. Now, at some times, some companies make you update your password after so often, or if you forget your password and you have to make a new one, my recommendation is you then change the number at the end. Like, for instance, in my password, 9 is my lucky number, and so I use a 9. Well, what I do is if I have to at another time, something happened and I need to change my password, they won't let you reuse your password for a year sometimes. So what I do is I would do a 99 or something like that. Or if I need a bunch, three is also a lucky number. So I'll use a three and then a nine or something. But I try to be consistent on that. And you can also keep your passwords, they'll store. So when you're putting in your password, let's say you go to a website and you change your password, it will ask you if you want to update that password. And you then say, yes, let it do it. But let's just say we were at Amazon and I go into Amazon and for some reason I'm locked out and I have to reset my password. So when I put a new password in, it will ask me if I want to update it, but it might not. So what happens is I immediately, first of all, I write down my new password just so I have it right now. And I always underline it when I'm writing it down. I underline the capital letter so I know it really is a capital letter. And when I write it down on my notepad, I put today's date after it. I don't use it as part of the password, but inevitably you'll go, oh man, was this my new password from a year ago or was it last week or whatever? So I put the date on that. Now, you can use the notes program to store your passwords because each individual note can be locked. And it's locked with either your biometric, your face or fingerprint ID, or in the computer, it's your user password that you use to log into the computer, or on your iPhone and your iPad, it's your passcode that you use to get into your phone if your biometric doesn't work. So that locks that little note that might or might not say password at the top, but that's where your passwords are stored. So again, when I do my Amazon thing, what I immediately do is if I change a password somewhere like I did in Amazon, I immediately log out and I log back in and I see if the autofill fills it in. And if it says, oh no, wrong password, then you make sure you put in your new password. And at this point, it will say, do you want to either save or update your password? Let it do it. Then log out again and make sure it works because it's fresh in your mind. So you want to make sure but let it store the password for you. Okay. Any questions on the protocol or the actual password saving? Please, this is a time to ask. Oh, and Apple will fill in a very secure password, which is pretty good, but you'll never remember it. But it is very secure. But for most things, so I'll give you an example. You all know that I was in it on the way back from Antarctica. We got hit by a rogue wave, and there were myself. Luckily, my cabin got flooded, but I had my iPhone and my iPad and my laptop. Well, yeah, I was able to get my laptop out of the room because I had time. But there were other people whose rooms got destroyed, and they had no access to their Apple ID. They have no phone, they have no iPad, and if you would use the secure password that Apple suggests, which by the way, some websites won't allow it because it has dashes in it, which is something they need to change. But these people are having to go up to the computer on the ship to look up their email, their reservations, all that. If they used this password protocol, they would know what their passwords were for all of their things. And your Apple password allows you to get into your notes. So you go to iCloud.com, you put in your Apple ID password, and then you can get into notes and see all your other passwords. Well, or you can see the passwords app. But the problem is, if you can't get into your Apple ID, you're never going to access that. So I don't recommend using Apple's automatic fill password and use your Apple ID is so critical that, and it is the key to everything. So you need to make sure you can get into that. Keith, go ahead with your question.
You made a comment earlier that you didn't like using one password to store passwords.
And when I said that, I immediately thought of you.
I've been using it for probably 10 or 15 years. And every time
And that's why I said, if you're already using it and you're liking it, okay, but I don't recommend it.
Okay.
And I never have.
All right. Every time I change a password with some company, I make a note in one password that I changed this password from A to B on such and such a date, and maybe a reason why I did it or who I talked to or whatever the circumstances around it. So I have a real history of that. And sometimes it saved my ass in terms of remembering what I did use or what I wanted to use or something like this. So that's my notepad, if you will, that you referred to. So
And I don't disagree, but let's open up Passwords, the program. It used to be called Keychain. And it should be, there it is. And where is it? Come on. Because I'm sharing my screen. It won't let me, maybe. Hang on. Okay. Oh, wow. Double click to approve. I did. So, well, I think there's an issue with it not allowing me to when I'm sharing a screen.
Mine still says keychain access.
Well, are you on Sequoia?
Probably not.
Yeah, that would be why. Yeah, you're on that 2015, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not on Sequoia, but its keychain is the same. But for some reason, passwords is I think it's because I'm sharing a screen, so it's a security issue. So I apologize for that. So let's get back to this. Oh, wait, there's something came up there. Come on.
There we go.
No, this is the
Oh, that's mine. Sorry.
It's the key. Yeah, yours might show up. Okay. Oh, why is that? A little alert just came up. Oh, it's this thing. Okay. I don't know why two copies of this is up. Okay. View, enter full screen. Okay. So anyway, the passwords app, Keith, you're able to put notes in there, but just like I told everybody with keychain access, with 1Password, with anything you use for a password manager, do not go in and manually adjust your passwords or usernames. You let the computer do the storing because it's going to do it right. And there is a spot in there you can do it, but treat it, even though you can go in and edit it, treat it like a read only because you will inevitably mess it up. And I mean, ask me how I know. Yeah, you just don't want to do it manually. All right, so moving on along to scams and
I have another question.
go ahead.
What do you do if the company you're trying to get a password to has the same first three letters, like Amazon, and if I had another company I
Yeah,
was called Amazing Adventures or something?
yeah, that's a good
How do
choice. Use the same one because they don't know you know that, and if you deviate from the protocol, you'll go, oh gosh, which one was it? So it's not a big deal. You're using the same password in two places instead of in 100 places.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I went to three letters, but also because many websites are requiring 10 now. And for the few times that happens, so let's just say it's uh, Amazing Books and Amazon. Well, Amazon's pretty critical. So if you put a special character on Amazon and you don't use a special character on Amazing whatever, then they're enough different. So, but yeah, it's not perfect, and there's more secure ways to do it. But and the other thing is, if you can't think of a short password, you could think of two words like Blu-ray or Sun's Ray or something like that. But two words sometimes are easier to remember than just a bunch of letters. But um, the nice thing is that if you try to not use words that are in the dictionary, but the more complex you make it, the less likely you are to remember it. And if you make it too long, the more likely you are to mistype it. So, oh, and that brings up a whole other thing called passkeys. I spoke and I had a class about passkeys a year, almost 2 years ago. And what a passkey is, it's happening with Amazon now, it's happening with Apple, it's happening with Google. You no longer have to use your passwords. You actually use a pass key. And what a pass key is, all of our Apple devices require our biometric to unlock it. So, in other words, either a Face ID on a phone, or Touch ID on a phone, or Touch ID on our keyboard. Those are biometrics. So, it's only you that can get in. So, what happens is your Apple device that has biometric, and of course, you can still use your passcode, but that device is authorized by you. So now when you go to Amazon on your iPhone, it will ask you to log in with your Face ID. And Amazon doesn't see your Face ID, but what happens is Amazon is saying, well, give me a password or give me a passkey. And your phone says, oh, yeah, this is Ken. I know him because I have his Face ID. Go ahead, Amazon. You can trust my phone as a trusted device because I've been authorized recently, like now, by Ken, and allow me into your site. So a pass key means you have a trusted device. A way to think about a pass key is a key card you use to get into a building is essentially a pass key. Or those little computer generated things that if you were ever in security type places, they're a dongle that constantly changes and they get a code and that automatic code submits and says, oh, I can get into this location. So your phone becomes a trusted device. Your Apple can be a trusted device because you have a password to get into your Apple and nobody else can get into it but you. So it creates a trusted device and you'll have the option of using that or an actual password, but it makes it easier. So that's what a pass key is. It's a trusted device. All right. And by the way, they're stored, it's very secure in Apple. I mean, you know how it is. So scams and alerts. This is a fake FedEx thing. So if you look at number one here, well, that address is from Lexington.us, from Liam Ortega. Well, if it was from FedEx, it would say FedEx. So you hover over the address of the email that got sent, and it'll give you that information. So, and actually, this one too is not that big a deal. There's no registered trademark there, but to be honest, anybody can make a registered trademark. But when I look here at 3, look for weird tracking numbers, you could go track that. But the two telling pieces here is number one, who did it, who sent it. You go into your email and you can see who sent it. And if it's somebody with an Outlook account or a Hotmail or whatever. But also where here says you can print your receipt. Courier was unable to deliver, blah, blah, blah. When you hover over this button, it shows you what website it's trying to go to. Well, that sure doesn't look like FedEx at all. So they're trying to get you to somewhere fake. You may get this pop up. It'll also may pop up on this and it might start saying name, saying things and stuff. And then here's tech support pops up and all that. These are just pop-up ads. They say your computer will be infected. I've had two people get it to say, "Oh, we know what sites you were at and everything." And everybody's eyes go big and they go, "What? I haven't been anywhere." Well, if you haven't been anywhere, don't worry about it. And they're all fake. These are always fake. These are the same thing as the old Netflix ad that used to pop up. They're just pop-up ads and they're trying to harvest your credit card. Okay. Like this, an old iTunes, it's the old Apple logo. And you hover over this and it says Google. This is a link shortener, so it's not that. Amazon, even though this looks right, the rest of it doesn't. Your card was declined, review account. It's always wanting you to do something. And what you do is, if it looks like it's from a bank or a credit card that you know or Amazon, go directly to the website. Don't click any links, just go into it. Yeah, if you want to do this, MacTechAlerts.com, they're going to try harvest your credit card and charge you $369 a year to take care of this. Well, first of all, Macs don't get viruses, so you don't have to worry. You don't get malware. Don't worry. These are always fake. They look really good sometimes, but they're always fake. Okay. Critical warning device, blah, blah, blah. I love it when they do one and it's like, oh, an FBI. Yeah, the FBI is real. I mean, if the FBI is locking up your browser, they wouldn't send you a message saying that. They would lock up your browser and you'd wonder why you can't go on the internet. So that is the extent of that kind of stuff. So, any questions?
Yeah,
We
Ken,
have a raffle.
should you report any of the fraud stuff that comes your way?
Yeah, good question. No, um, because and if it's from your bank or something like that, you don't forward that to them. You can tell, but believe me, they all know. They know it's fake, um, and since they didn't send it, they can't do anything about it. So because they don't have control of that, and these don't come from this country, and never unsubscribe from some place that's not reputable, because that just verified you had an that you have an active email address, and you can't block them. If you keep getting something consistently from a place, put it in your junk folder and just move on. Um, it's just, and we're getting tons of spam texts. I know a million people, and I've gotten a bunch of them about my fast track and not having the account for that. And ironically, it seems to happen after I go through a fast track. And that bothers me that it's that proactive, but it's always fake. Okay. Just count on it being fake. If you get a pop up and you can't do anything about it, close Safari, restart your computer. When you fire Safari back up, hold the shift key down and it'll go away. They're just the same as pop-up ads, but they're really pernicious and they're just trying, I always say they're farmers and they're trying to harvest your credit card and they want to take your credit card number. So first of all, they can charge you $300 and then they put that credit card number out on the dark web and your credit card is compromised. So don't do it. Go away. I have seen some great ones. I've seen some that have fooled me. So luckily I don't click on it though. I know better. And just reading an email won't do anything. It's if you click on the link that you've got to worry. So don't be so paranoid that you can't look in your email box and things like that. Just don't click on anything, but realize don't believe what's in an email because we know everything on the internet is true, right?
Yeah,
All right.
you can also look at all uh, all the headers or whatever it's called.
Yeah, like in this case, the header here is the you click on your email and then it'll say from Apple, but then when you
No, no, no,
click
no,
it,
no.
it'll show you it's a different address. But you're
No,
talking about HTML headers, Bob. That's a
I'm
pretty deep
talking about
subject.
in your email. You can look at all headers, and it gives you the complete routing information.
Yeah,
It looks like
that's
gobbledygook,
and it's
but
it's pretty deep.
if you read the end of each paragraph in that gobbledygook, you can see which servers that message came through.
Yep. Easiest way is to go to your mail, click, if it just says Apple, click on it, and it will show you what the underlying email address is here. That 95% of the time will get
Yeah,
you there.
that too.
But Bob's totally correct, but that's a pretty deep thing to go in, and you usually don't need to because it'll tell you right here. Pete, and thank you for that, Bob, actually. Uh, Pete, go ahead and ask your question.
You just said some procedure to use. You turn it off and click on something. Could you repeat that, please?
On junk mail?
Yeah, you just maybe a minute ago said something about turning it off and then rebooting
Oh,
it.
you're okay. If sometimes you get these pop-ups if you're in Safari and they're making noise and saying, don't shut your computer down, blah, blah, blah. And then you get these messages and you can't get past it. It kind of locks up Safari. So what you do in that case is if you can go to the dock, like if I'm in Safari, I can't go up and quit Safari usually because it's all locked up. If I click on Finder, and then I can go up here and come down and say force quit. In force quit, I could find Safari and force quit it. And then I recommend restarting your computer. And if you can't quit Safari by just pressing and holding the power button for 15 seconds, it will shut your computer down. And then when you restart it, when you go to click on Safari on the dock, hold down this shift key on your keyboard for Safari because that will clear it out. And then
Hey,
that little pop up should not be persistent because sometimes, even when you restart Safari, it'll come back up and there's tricks. But usually, doing that, shutting it down will fix it. But I recommend when you restart Safari, hit the shift because then if it was going to pop back up, it probably won't. It's very rare that that doesn't take care of it.
thank you.
Yeah, and it happens a lot, trust me. And I mean, I've had some people that can't, oh, I never go to websites like that. I don't do my camera. And it's like, but it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, as we call FUD. And it really works most of the time to try get you to do something.
I trust you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. And trust me, it's always fake. I've seen some really good ones though that had me going. I had to do some research on it to see what it was. So I'm going to do a little test to make sure our SIRI is working for our numbers. So hang on, get me the numbers in a sec, Lisa. Give me a random number between 1 and 375. And of course it's not working. Okay, hang on. System settings, sound. USB microphone. Test, test, test. Okay. And then hmm. Okay, that's on. I remember I had to change something last time, and I tested this earlier and it worked, of course. Let me unshare my screen. And I will switch my sound. Sorry about this, you guys. I'll use my phone if I can't get this working here. We had it work in the last 2 meetings. I will try my HD webcam. So let's try test, test, test. Give me a random number between 1 and 865.
It's 758.
Okay, so I switched to my other microphone, which makes no sense, but it works. Okay, I have 229, and what's our other number, Lisa?
34.
Thank you very much. So that's our number of attending members. We will raffle off 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, and then 2 $100 Amazon gift cards, and those for all of those are for members in attendance. And then there's a complete separate one, and we have 229, and that's our entire membership. So you can win in both, and your number is different between the entire membership and the one here. So I will say it, Lisa. I'll read it to make sure it did it took my dialogue correct, and I'll give you an okay before you release the number.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we're going to do the 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
The answer is 10.
And that's good.
10 is Dennis Irwin.
Congratulations, Dennis.
Woohoo! Thank you.
He's a frequent winner. Good for you, Dennis. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
It's 12.
Right nearby it. It's
Elaine
good.
Hebert.
Congratulations, Elaine.
Thank
Give me a
you.
random number between 1 and 34.
The answer is 3.
It's good.
Barbara Moore.
Barbara, congratulations.
Thank you.
And the last of the $25 gift cards. Oh, and I now see where my password unlocked screen is on the other screen, is why I didn't see passwords, which is okay. I'll do here at the end is if people want to stick around, I can bring my password up, but I'll stop the recording before then. So, okay, the last of the $25 gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
The answer is 29.
And that one's good.
29, Raymond Chung.
Congratulations, Ray. All right. Now off to the 2 $100 ones, the first two. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
That would be 12.
And that's a good one. We had 12 already, didn't we?
That's Elaine. I wonder which one she
So
wants.
Elaine, which one do you want to keep?
I'll keep the larger one, please.
Okay, so now we're going to raffle off we're going to graciously raffle off her $25 one.
Right.
Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
The answer is 22.
And I should have said, and don't make it 12.
It's Ken Spencer.
Ooh, darn. You don't want to give me that 100 one? Okay. Hey,
I love you,
I
but
haven't
not
won
quite
in a
that.
long time. So we have left is one $100 one for everyone in attendance, and then we'll do the full member one. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
It's 2.
2.
Annette Braden Walker.
Congratulations, Annette. So now we will do a random number for the, and if you already won one, it's okay. You can win on this because it's a whole different drawing. And Elaine's number will not be 12 in this case. So give me a random number between 1 and 229.
The answer is 31.
And that's a good drawing.
All right, scrolling to 31, we find the name is Deborah Beamer. Beamer?
Oh, Beheimer.
Okay.
Behemeier.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes.
Cool. That's a client of mine, and I didn't know she was a member. Great.
Long time.
Okay. So fantastic. And then I'll stick around for questions, but I'm going to end the recording and then I'll bring up passwords so you guys can look at the passwords app.